What up? What up, Miss Village Mafia? It's been a while. Uh, I don't know. It's 2023. It's been a little crazy out there in the world. It's been a little crazier for me. But I just figured I'd pop in and say hello. I'd see how you guys are doing, let you see my face, give you some updates, let you know what was really happening. Um, I'm sort of been off social media to a certain extent, which I think honestly has been better for my life. But yeah, I figured I'd let you know what was going on. I'm writing. I have an entire new book done in my third series, Omnimage. I'm probably about halfway done through book 9 because honestly, I've been guided more towards Omnimage. Uh, but I definitely did also step away from the keyboard for a good amount of time because COVID fucking sucked, to be quite honest. And life got a little tough, and I felt like I needed to sort of reassess and figure out what I really wanted to do. Um, and honestly, I felt like I was forcing the words. So I gave myself some time and some grace and just sort of focused on things that I thought were going to bring me joy, going on a lot of hikes. Definitely gained a lot more back over Christmas, but like my health is better and taking care of family and things like that. I mean, basically just like normal life stuff. I know people are concerned that like I decided to stop writing. Like that's not the case. And I understand why people might feel like that. Like my writing speed was, I would match it up there with anyone in the world. I wrote the first book in 6 weeks. I wrote the first 6 books in 14 months. It's insane. I wrote 7, which is this thick in a year. And then, I released God's Eye and then released 8. And, like it's been slowing down. It's not because I don't have more story to tell, because honestly, I wrote the ending before I even published the first book because I did not want to be like George R. R. Martin, to be quite honest. And I also wrote several arcs that I really plan to put into the land. And honestly, there's 5 major arcs with just probably about 50 pages of notes, and like, where I want to guide myself for each one of those, and haven't even really reached the very first arc. So it's not like there's any shortage of a story, but I very much just sort of poured all of my heart and my passion into the books. And it was therapy for me, and it was amazing to connect with you guys. And I got to a point where it's like it's not like there wasn't more story, but I needed to make sure that I had the amount of heart and passion to pour into it. And like I said, honestly, COVID was a really tough time for me. I think it was a tough time for a lot of you guys. I talk to people about it now, and it's almost like we're discussing it's almost like a PTSD kind of thing to a certain extent, where people kind of like get this like look in their eyes, and we don't really want to think about like what that year looked like and how it shaped some of our relationships and things like that. I mean, I hope that you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, but I think way too many of you probably do. And so like, yeah, with my own journey in that, I just decided to unplug. I haven't really been checking Facebook as much. I haven't really been checking whatever. I just try to respond to like any messages that I get. And just took the time to like, make sure that my mental and emotional health was taken care of. And I'm not gonna lie to you, after I did that for about a year, just a little writing here and there in between, and giving myself that space, when I finally sat down and started tapping on the keys, the old joy came back again, right? Like it felt like creation again. When I write these books, it feels to me, as somebody that doesn't have kids, the way people that actually like their kids talk about it, it's like it brings a validity to my life that I never had before. And I think it's something that is really worth honoring, and that's basically what I did, which means that the pace of the books coming out is much slower. And as awesome as the people of Mini Miss Villagers are, there's honestly just a lot of dickheads out there too. And it's hard. I don't know about you guys, but it's like I can get, like I've mentioned this before. Like there's this old Erykah Badu quote where she wrote Tyrone, which is one of her most popular songs, and she's like at a live performance, and she goes, "Hey, so I'm gonna put this out here for you. It's a new song," and everyone cheered. And she goes, "But keep in mind, I'm an artist, and I'm sensitive about my shit." Like that's very much the way it feels. I've always been I couldn't care less what you think. I'm gonna do my own thing, and it really surprised me how. I think because the books were so personal and such an extension of myself that, I mean, I can get like 10 amazing reviews in a row. And even though I'm like, don't do it, Outrun, like, what are you doing? Like, I might latch on to the one bad one. So it's like, I don't know. It's the kind of thing where I guess I wish if I was just this completely cohesive human being that I never got upset and never was bothered by anybody that said anything negative, then I wouldn't have any problem parsing through the few dickheads to sort of talk to all of you amazing people. But honestly, it was better for me to just sort of like go AFK for a while. But I'm also not, I'm telling you guys my process of what has been going on with me. But I'm also telling you that like I'm in a really, really great place. Like I'm feeling good. I'm having a great time writing. Like I said, it feels like it used to. Like I'll read over things and just start chuckling to myself. And yeah, so it's not that, and the reason I'm hopping on a live today, is honestly because of you guys. It's not that I ever forgot about you, and it's not like I've ever stopped feeling lucky that I had such amazing, awesome fans. It's just that I chose me and my journey and what I felt I needed to do over my career as a writer, and sadly even over the camaraderie that we got, because I felt like I just needed to go into my cave and heal and process COVID and some health things that were going on with my family and other things like that. And it was successful. So for everyone that's still here, I appreciate you. For everyone that's not, even though you can't hear me, like I understand. But like, I'm really excited about these books, and I'm really excited about y'all, and I'm happy that you guys are still on the journey with me. So, let's see. Oh, I was going to respond to one thing. Geneva said that somebody said that I'm the next Patrick Rothfuss as far as not putting books out. And my response to that is, good God, I wish. I would love to have Name of the Wind to kind of success. But no, I'm not going to fade out on y'all or make some website about how I'm not putting the books out. I'm writing a bunch. Yeah, I was sort of debating whether to do this. But I am going to, for any of you guys who are not yet tired of the dulcet sounds of my voice, and though it is not quite ready, I'm going to be reading some of the very first, the first chapter of Omnimage, which is my third book series. So I hope you like it. All right, chapter 1. Peals of laughter filled the car. The two lovers looked out at the beautiful view in front of them. This was their favorite spot on Stone Mountain. At the top of the palisade, to give a view of all of Atlanta and the flatlands leading up to it. The sun was just beginning to set behind the city, and the buildings were backlit by a golden glow. What during the day were just ugly brown buildings now sort of were suffused with a amber light. Long shadows stretched across the ground towards them, and inky fingers created by that very same fading sun. The two of them, one man, one woman, enjoyed the warm sight. As beautiful as the view was, it was nothing compared to the casual joy that they were sharing. I can't believe it, Lauren said, laughing so hard she could barely get the words out. They acted like they couldn't smell anything. I know, Finn gasped, wiping the tears from the corner of his eyes. What possessed her to make, what was it, an Argentinian bean casserole? More laughter filled the car. Did you see everyone's faces? They were trying so hard to hold it in, and everybody was failing. Oh my God. Lauren was wheezing now. Vance tried to get up and open a window, but Ashley made him sit back down because it was cold outside. She just couldn't admit that her dinner was basically an ecological disaster. Geneva, show the vid that I took, Finn called out, a devilish look on his face. Don't drag Geneva into this, Lauren chastised him playfully. As an AI, I am always happy to help, came a disembodied voice. The feminine tones did indeed sound happy to join in the fun. A moment later, a picture showed up on the smart glass in the windshield. It showed a young Asian woman sitting with 5 other people crowded around a table that was just a bit too small. Her expression was slightly strained, but it was nothing compared to the massive amounts of sweat on everyone else's faces. Small toots sounded out periodically that absolutely no one admitted to hearing or creating. After a few seconds, one of the women started coughing, a cough that quickly became a gag. Look at Ashley's face! She's trying so hard to pretend it didn't reek in there, but the room was so small. Finn's breath was coming out in short gasps at this point. I'm surprised no one actually vomited. And the best part, that was when Matt came late and he was like, does your dog have the runs? What was that smell? Stop it, Lawrence cried out, slapping her thigh. The two of them sat there laughing and enjoying the setting sun, all 4 windows discreetly cracked. They lay in their reclined chairs, fingers interlaced, loving one another like there was no tomorrow. And sadly for one of them, that was true. As the first stars appeared above them in the darkening sky, they looked at the very last embers of sunlight fading away behind Atlanta, and that was when it happened. That was when the world ended and was reborn in a tsunami of gray fire. Kamel, are you seeing this? Lauren sat up abruptly, pointing through the windshield at something up and to the right. In the days to come, Finn would remember many things. He would remember not wanting to look at what she was pointing at because it meant he could no longer stare at his wife's beautiful face. Her soft brown hair, smooth white skin, and his favorite feature, that gentle smile that always seemed to be half delight and half reassurance. Finn would remember turning away, though, and seeing what Lauren had pointed at. He would remember the impossibility of what looked like a second gray sun appearing in the darkening sky, growing larger by the second. And he would remember how, in bare moments, that light would be transformed into a pillar countless miles across as the beam of chaos energy grew closer to the earth. He would recall how she kept saying things like, oh my God, and what could it be? Her voice holding both panic and wonder. In the times to come, he would remember the pride that he had even confronted with the impossible. Her voice had still held wonder. His pride that he had been lucky enough to find such an amazing woman. There would also be the tactile memory of her delicate fingers digging into his thigh as she spoke. But most of all, he would remember that at the end of the world, she didn't call him Finn. She called him by his pet name. A name that had begun as a joke, but had grown into an eternal pledge of love. A promise that he would always be her Kamel, her perfect one. Before Finn could respond, the light impacted the earth somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. Even thousands of miles distant, the impact sent tremors that reached where Finn and Lauren were parked. The tremors stopped glasses in homes, caused traffic jams, and triggered thousands of deaths in various ways. History would not even note the passing of these unfortunates. Nothing would be remembered about the moments before the wave. After impact, the beam of chaos was siphoned into the center of the earth, the beam disappearing for 6 seconds after it had appeared. A bare 7th second after that, the light exploded from the impact site in an opaque wave of roiling gray power. Traveling at near 1,000 miles per second, the beam of chaos energy, the raw building block of the universe, washed over the earth in less than a minute, forcing a planet that was not yet ready to join the wider world, the wider labyrinth. After the impact tremors and disappearance of the pillar, the first thing Finn saw was brightening on the horizon. He couldn't quite understand at first. It was night. But in that moment, his panic brain was still struggling for stable footing. Is it dawn? He thought to himself, not factoring in the reality that he'd just spent an hour watching the sun set. The new quote-unquote sun rising in the west also hadn't weighed in. In fairness to his addled mind, it did look like the sky was brightening for a second time. If Finn had been born 2 generations earlier, the movies of his childhood would have been rife with nuclear explosions and his mind might have gone another way. He'd always been a fan of the 90s station of the link, though, but he'd missed the reference by a decade. No matter what explanation he could have come up with, though, it didn't matter. What followed next defied any reasoning his life had prepared for him. Every cloud in the sky lengthened and started moving towards the west. It looked like they were being sucked down a drain, stretching as they moved, thinner and thinner like spaghetti. Then a white line enveloped the horizon from end to end. A second later, it looked like there was an inch-tall line of gray static. In the seconds that followed, that became a soundless wave. With rising horror, Finn and Lauren watched that wave grow from 1 foot above the horizon to be then 4, then 10, until it was high enough that it blocked the very sky. "Kamel?" Lauren's voice quavered. Finn grabbed her fingers with one hand. With the other, he blocked her view and turned her head so that she could only look into his eyes. He answered her in the only way he could. His words were lies, but the message behind them held a greatest truth. With fear gripping his own heart, he chose to focus on love and tell her that even if it was the end of all things, that she was loved and not alone. "It's going to be okay," he said in the calmest voice he could manage. "It's going to be okay." He couldn't resist stealing a last glance at the wave. The wall of gray energy continued to devour the world. It had to be hundreds of miles high. An impenetrable, opaque wall of gray rushed towards them faster than a freight train. As it did sweep towards them, nothing could be seen behind it. It was like existence itself had been erased. In those last split seconds, staring at the approaching apocalypse, Finn could not help but think that the wave of oblivion was strangely beautiful. Something inside of him resonated with the impossibly intricate swirls that could be seen or felt more in the tsunami. Staring into each other's eyes, the wave arrived. The world disappeared in a wash of roiling gray light. Time and fate themselves became untethered from the earth. Doors long closed creaked open and new passageways were made to both heavens and hells. Creatures long regulated to the forgotten corners of the world found dormant powers awakening. The primordial essence of the universe, chaos itself, swept through their bodies, minds, and souls. The entire earth was enveloped in the large blast of chaos energy, the shock wave of the impact sweeping over the surface and leaving dungeon seeds in its wake. The countdown had begun. The wave washed over both of them and... Chapter 2. So anyway, that is the first chapter of Omnimage. A bolt of chaos that came from Richter's own decision back on the land that traveled through time and space. And I'll also say that the people that I wrote into this, it is an homage to a man and a woman who were taken from this earth way too early. Kamel Dupree Perez was an awesome guy at Amazon who was there with me through most of my early publishing days. And he talked to me about a little over a year ago about how he was actually having to leave Kindle Publishing because he'd gotten his dream job. He'd gotten hired by Sony and he was going to be making movies. And I was sad to see him go, but I was very happy, very, very happy for him. And unfortunately, I got a call 3 days later that he and his wife were killed by a drunk driver. He was an awesome guy, and I'm happy that I can remember him, and I'm happy that I can share him with you guys. So that was what the homage. Kamel and his wife Lauren, who left behind 2 young kids, and they were only in their 30s. Gone but not forgotten. But anyway, with that all being said, that is the very beginning of Omnimage. I don't know if you caught from context, it is set on Earth. It is connected to the Labyrinth universe, and it is going to be, just sort of a very interesting story about what happens when magic slowly comes to the world. I hope that you enjoyed it. I want you to know that I appreciate you. That's why I shared this with you. And I wanted to be very honest again about why I haven't really been around. It's not because I don't appreciate you, because I appreciate you. And it's not because I don't love the books, because I do. And it's not because I've given up on them, because I haven't. It's because COVID was real, because I'm a human being. And I was making sure that when I created my art, I was pouring the very best of myself into it. And that's what I'm doing. So, all that being said, I'm going to get back to work. I'm going to maybe hop on the bike because I definitely still want less face on my face. And you're going to hear from me a lot more. So I appreciate you. Thank you for being on this path with me. I hope that your lives are good. I hope that this is the very best year of your lives. And for anybody that's having a hard time, you're not alone. And this might just be one chapter of your life. You have no idea what the next chapters will bring. So stay hopeful. As always, and for way too long I haven't said this. Peace, love, Perfect Margarita. Bye.